mess. None of these storylines make any sense.
She-Hulk, the finale, and where was I? Well, I finished up last time talking about Daredevil tanning Black Widow's hide, and that was nice. And this is where we go further down the rabbit hole, because on the same internet page where I found the picture of Daredevil and Black Widow, I found something else that I'd half forgotten, and I'm going to have to be very careful in my choice of words here. So I wrote this long bit about Wonder Woman and her creator, and got to writing, inspired by the panel on screen now, but sadly it turned out to be far too long, which has become a running theme for me, so I've decided to make it a separate video that I will link below. It will be called The Seedy History of Wonder Woman or something. I haven't decided on a name yet. Anyway, where was I with She-Hulk? Tim Roth arrives in the hall, and he's going to give a self-improvement speech to intelligentsia. He gets a few sentences in, and Jen bursts in looking for him, and is surprised to see this collection of people together. Todd starts to taunt her, and admits that he hired Josh to seduce Jen, ruin her life and take her blood because Todd wanted Hulk powers and she never deserved them in the first place, and he chooses that exact moment to inject himself with the serum made from Jen's blood. And all of these are extraordinary coincidences, because Todd did not know Jen would even be there. Was the plan for the meeting to take the Hulk serum in front of the crowd of his friends? That she would walk in seconds before this moment, entirely by accident? Is that really what the showrunners are going with? In the whole continental United States, these people find themselves in the same place at this vital moment. Todd then turns into a Hulk and tries to attack Jen, and she's saved by Tim Roth. So is he there by accident as well? If Tim Roth was in on the plan, why would he save her? And this is where the series completely Amber Heards the bed. At this stage I would not be surprised if the first draft of the script was written in crayon, because then Titania bursts in through the wall looking for a fight for no reason whatsoever. Then Hulk comes smashing through the roof for no reason as well, and wants to fight Abomination for daring to touch Jen, and this is all a mess. The writers don't know how to finish their story, because in truth they never had one in the first place, and Jen breaks the fourth wall to say, this is a mess, none of these storylines make any sense, and that doesn't make it better.
This is a mess. None of these storylines make any sense.
Disney giving this series to Jessica Gao is looking like a Titanic mistake. But how could they go wrong? This is the woman, after all, who gave the world Pickle Rick. And as Jen asks the viewer, is this working for you? The viewer turns off in disgust, and I can empathise as they go back to Disney+. Jen is unhappy at this turn of events, so she breaks her inhibitor and turns into She-Hulk before breaking the fourth wall again, this time literally with her body, and goes into another Disney programme by crawling across the screen. A making of programme, so she can go and talk to the people writing the show that she's in. So she finds the She-Hulk writers, who are sat around talking, and one says, what do we get if the entirety of the second season is an extended dream sequence? And that is quite funny. I wouldn't go writing that second season just yet if I were you. The writers won't change the story for us, so She-Hulk goes instead to see someone called Kevin, the head honcho of the studio. On the way, some guards try to stop her, and why does she nearly end the guards? They were no threat to her, and couldn't ever really be, so why did she nearly rip that guy's arm off? Eventually she finds Kevin, and it's a robot that looks a lot like GLaDOS from Portal, a cringeworthy nod to Kevin Feige, the president of Marvel Studios, and Jessica Gao allegedly just wanted to put a ball cap on this robot, and it ended up causing an argument with Kevin Feige about it, because it didn't make sense according to Kevin. And Kevin, none of this show makes sense. If that was the standard that you had to adhere to, you would not have a She-Hulk series at all. So Jen convinces Kevin to change the plot of her story, And as a result, Todd loses the Hulk powers, Hulk was never there, and Jen also wants Abomination to be held accountable for breaching the terms of the ankle monitor. She also wants Daredevil back because, in her words, a woman has needs. And sorry, a woman doesn't have the right to naughty time with a man just because she has needs. We're on very dodgy territory here. Daredevil was on his way back to New York, where presumably he had business, and he's now back in California against his will. So for him to want to be there at all, Jen necessarily changed him as well, and he's now also Jen's boyfriend, also against his will, and all of this without his consent. But he now consents only because reality has been changed, and that's not romantic, that's rapey. It's like he's been roofied and he'll never even know. I don't know if that makes it better or far, far worse. And there's just so much wrong with this ending, because Titania never gets dealt with. Josh, the guy who went to bed with Jen, ghosted, seduced and betrayed her. He never gets his comeuppance. The showrunners instead seem to forget about him entirely, and his arc never gets resolved. Instead, Tim Roth's Abomination gets punished for breaching the terms of his ankle monitor. A great crime indeed, but it's a thing that Jen just did as well. She did the exact same thing, but he's the only one that's going to be held accountable. She gets to walk away scot-free. Tim Roth has to be punished to hold himself accountable for what he's done, something she markedly isn't doing for herself, so she's an enormous hypocrite. She just rewrote reality so she didn't have to be held accountable for her own actions or face any kind of repercussions. Jen could have rewritten reality to make Tim Roth a good guy. I mean, he already kind of was in this series. He's not done much wrong. But she could have changed his character so that he was always a good guy and never hurt anybody. Instead, she kept all of his crimes the same, including keeping all of the victims the same, and instead made him go to prison for it. And how far could she have gone with this reality change? Could she have theoretically brought Tony Stark back to life, because he has a daughter without a dad now, and the MCU was a lot better with Robert Downey Jr. in it. In her universe, you're telling me that she has the power to change reality itself. She could have used it to bring back some of the people that just saved the universe. She could have used it to free her cousin from the crippling curse of the Hulk. She could have used it to reunite Tony Stark with his wife and daughter, to bring back Black Widow, to ask for world peace, to solve global warming. Nah. Instead, she has the power to change the world, and what she wishes for is a boyfriend. Jen in the source material was a good character. She was principled. This Jen is a moronic, selfish, narcissistic hypocrite. And you know, she's also a bit rapey. All great qualities in a hero, I'm sure we can agree. And then there's a big family meal, where Jen brings her new boyfriend Daredevil along. Hulk turns up with his new son that he had off screen, and Jen tells Daredevil that that's her cousin Bruce. And why? Are they seriously trying to tell me that people in this universe wouldn't know who the Incredible Hulk was? He saved the world multiple times at this point. Matt Murdock is from New York. The Avengers destroyed a lot of New York, including large parts of Hell's Kitchen, where Daredevil plies his trade. How would he not know who the Incredible Hulk was? Just no thought went into this rubbish. The writers either just do not care at all, or are stunningly incompetent. They consider themselves not caring about continuity, or even if their own story makes any sense at all, to be a joke. And since I watched this entire series, I guess the joke is on me.
Could you make me a cup of tea, please, Stephanie?